as we started to come all together as a family, everybody brought their own traditions, right?
So the day after Thanksgiving, Saturday after Thanksgiving, Robyn would do cookies, decorate.
Sister Wives Bombshell. Kody and Robyn Brown's dream home sparks questions about his true beliefs on polygamy. Kody Brown once again takes center stage in the ongoing narrative of Sister Wives Season 20, as his recent remarks about polygamy have left both his family and the viewers grappling with confusion. The man who once passionately defended plural marriage as a divine calling now appears to be contradicting himself, sending mixed signals about the very foundation upon which his family once stood. His shifting stance has not only raised questions about his personal beliefs, but has also placed Robyn, his only remaining wife, in an emotionally complex position as she struggles to reconcile the man she thought she married with the one he seems to be becoming. For years, Kody Brown was known as the outspoken champion of plural marriage, portraying it as a path to spiritual growth and unity. His family's reality television journey began with the promise of showcasing love, cooperation, and the faith-driven commitment that held multiple marriages together. Yet, as time has unfolded, that ideal has eroded into a complicated web of broken relationships, miscommunication, and deep emotional exhaustion. In this latest chapter, Kody's words reveal a man seemingly at war with his own past convictions. During his recent conversations, he appears to express regret, even bitterness, toward polygamy, suggesting that the lifestyle has brought him more pain than peace. For longtime fans of the show, this is an emotional turning point, signaling how far the Brown family has drifted from its original vision. Robyn Brown, who once shared Kody's dream of a large and harmonious plural family, now finds herself in an increasingly lonely situation. Her emotional expressions on camera reflect confusion and sadness as she listens to Kody's contradictory statements. At moments, he speaks as though he still believes in plural marriage as a spiritual principle. At others, he seems to renounce it entirely, framing it as a mistake or even a burden. For Robyn, this mixed messaging is not just about theology, it's about the foundation of her life. She entered the family believing in shared sisterhood and faith-driven unity. Now she faces a man whose heart seems divided between disillusionment and nostalgia. What makes Kody's contradictory stance so fascinating and troubling is the depth of emotion beneath it. Some experts suggest that what viewers are witnessing is not hypocrisy, but rather a man in the midst of a profound identity crisis. For decades, Kody's identity was intertwined with polygamy. It was not only his marital structure but his spiritual compass and public persona. When 3 of his wives, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, chose to leave, that foundation collapsed. His words today may reflect a man who feels betrayed by his own ideals, struggling to make sense of a life that no longer resembles the dream he once sold to the world. Christine's departure in particular marked a major emotional blow to Kody, as it forced him to confront the fact that love and loyalty in plural marriage are not guaranteed. When she chose independence and moved on with her life, she symbolized the unraveling of Kody's long-standing philosophy. Janelle's practical, no-nonsense approach to life and her eventual separation added to that fracture, while Mary's quiet endurance followed by emotional detachment completed the picture of dissolution. Kody now stands as a man of one marriage, a far cry from the image that once defined sister wives. Yet in his own way, he seems to resist acknowledging that change, oscillating between acceptance and denial. From an analytical perspective, Kody's contradictions may stem from the psychological difficulty of losing control. Polygamy, in many ways, was a structure that gave him authority, purpose, and identity. As that structure crumbles, so does his sense of self. When he speaks against polygamy now, it may not be the principle itself he rejects, but the loss, pain, and humiliation that have come with it. Viewers can sense the raw vulnerability behind his words, as though Kody is mourning not only his family but the man he used to be. Robyn's emotional turmoil in these episodes cannot be overstated. She has become the last link to the lifestyle they once defended, yet she is also caught in the emotional storm that Kody's shifting words have created. While she tries to stay loyal and grounded, her expressions of frustration suggest that she feels abandoned in spirit. Her tears, when she admits she doesn't recognize the man Kody has become, resonate deeply with viewers who have followed her journey since she joined the family. Many see Robyn's struggle as symbolic of the broader question the show now raises. What happens when faith-based ideals clash with human vulnerability? The public's reaction to Kody's mixed messages has been divided. Some viewers sympathize with him, recognizing the emotional toll of losing multiple marriages and enduring public scrutiny. They argue that Kody's contradictions reflect a natural evolution, that it is human to question one's beliefs after profound personal loss. Others, however, view his shifting rhetoric as a lack of accountability, suggesting that he distances himself from polygamy now only because it no longer serves his narrative. Social media discussions often highlight this tension, with fans debating whether Kody is finally being honest or simply rewriting his story to avoid guilt. Experts on family dynamics have weighed in on the broader implications of Kody's transformation. According to several relationship counselors, what we are witnessing is a textbook example of a belief system collapsing under emotional strain. Polygamy, as practiced by the Browns, required immense coordination, emotional maturity, and selflessness, qualities that can falter when resentment and insecurity enter the picture. Once trust is broken, as it was between Kody and his wives, the system begins to fail. His recent contradictions, then, are the verbal manifestations of that breakdown, a way of intellectually distancing himself from a lifestyle that emotionally devastated him. The story also serves as a mirror for viewers who have faced disillusionment in their own lives. It reminds us that ideals, no matter how passionately held, must evolve with experience. Kody's journey, however tumultuous, underscores the reality that self-reflection often comes with pain. Whether one agrees with his choices or not, there is something profoundly human in watching a man confront the ruins of his own convictions. His emotional volatility, the anger, sadness, defensiveness, and confusion, reflects what happens when one's personal identity collides with change. From a social perspective, Kody's contradictions have reignited public debate about the sustainability of plural marriage in modern contexts. Some cultural commentators argue that his story demonstrates the inherent imbalance in polygamy, where emotional needs and attention are often unevenly distributed. Others point out that his personal failings should not be seen as a condemnation of all plural families, emphasizing that every relationship model requires communication, equality, and adaptability to thrive. In that sense, Sister Wives continues to serve as both a cautionary tale and a conversation starter, inviting audiences to think critically about love, faith, and individuality. For Robyn, the emotional landscape ahead remains uncertain. Her commitment to Kody is evident, but the emotional isolation she faces is becoming increasingly visible. Viewers can sense her growing anxiety as she tries to hold onto a dream that no longer matches reality. Her emotional vulnerability adds depth to the narrative, transforming what could have been a simple family drama into an exploration of resilience, faith, and emotional endurance. In reflecting on Kody's contradictions, one must also acknowledge the broader human truth at play. People change and beliefs evolve. Life has a way of testing even the strongest convictions, and when faced with loss, disappointment, and regret, many find themselves re-evaluating everything they once held sacred. Kody's shifting relationship with polygamy may not simply be a sign of hypocrisy, but of human evolution, a man trying to reconcile who he was with who he has become. From an educational standpoint, the situation offers important lessons about emotional intelligence and adaptability. Relationships, whether monogamous or plural, require constant communication, empathy, and the willingness to grow together. The Brown story shows what happens when that growth becomes uneven, when one partner evolves faster, slower, or in a completely different direction than the others. The pain that follows is not only emotional but existential, as each person must redefine what family, faith, and fulfillment mean to them. As the season progresses, viewers are left to wonder whether Kody's evolving views will lead him toward redemption or further isolation. His contradictions may ultimately become his path to clarity, as painful as that process might be. For Robyn, the journey ahead will test her emotional endurance and her faith in the man she once believed would lead their family with conviction. Kody Brown and Robyn Brown are once again at the heart of the sister wives conversation as season 20 unfolds with an unexpected development. Their pursuit of a fresh start marked by the purchase of what many are calling their dream home. For years, Kody's journey has been defined by change, disillusionment, and the unraveling of relationships that once formed the core of his plural family. Now, standing alongside Robyn, his only remaining wife, Kody seems determined to rebuild from the ashes of what was once a large, faith-driven household. This chapter is not just about a new home, it is about renewal, identity, and the search for peace after years of turmoil and emotional fatigue. The story begins with Kody and Robyn's decision to move into a new residence, a spacious and serene property that seems to symbolize everything they have long sought but struggled to achieve: stability, unity, and a sense of permanence. For a man who has spent much of the last few seasons reckoning with loss, separation, and fractured communication, this move represents far more than a real estate transaction. It is an emotional reset, a way for Kody and Robyn to reframe their lives after years of public heartbreak and private reflection. Yet beneath the surface of excitement and optimism lies a complicated web of emotions. For viewers who have followed Sister Wives since its earliest days, this fresh start raises both hope and skepticism. Many wonder if this move is an authentic turning point or simply an attempt to escape the ghosts of the past. Kody, once the confident patriarch of a sprawling polygamous family, has found himself at odds with the very lifestyle he once championed. Robyn, in contrast, remains steadfast in her belief in family, even as the meaning of that word continues to change around her. The home itself has become a symbolic centerpiece of the season. Located in a picturesque area with panoramic mountain views and quiet surroundings, it reflects a vision of simplicity and peace, the kind of life Kody often said he longed for but could never achieve amid the chaos of managing multiple marriages. In interviews, he speaks with a tone that blends relief and nostalgia, describing the house as a sanctuary, a place to rebuild his faith and his sense of purpose. For Robyn, the emotional connection to this new beginning is equally profound. She views the home not merely as a dwelling, but as a safe haven where her children can feel secure, away from the emotional tension that has dominated their lives for years. However, what makes this development particularly intriguing is how it redefines the public perception of Kody and Robyn's relationship. In earlier seasons, Robyn was often viewed as the favored wife, the one whose bond with Kody unintentionally contributed to the growing divide between him and the others. Now she finds herself not in the role of the beloved fourth wife of a large family, but as Kody's sole companion in what appears to be a monogamous arrangement. This shift has forced both of them to confront uncomfortable truths about what they once believed and what they now must accept. From an analytical perspective, this transformation in their lives is not just personal but deeply psychological. For Kody, the move into the new home may be interpreted as an act of self-preservation. After the emotional exhaustion of navigating plural relationships that ended in separation and resentment, the simplicity of being with one partner offers a sense of control and comfort. He is no longer juggling multiple emotional landscapes, no longer forced to mediate conflicts between wives with competing needs and expectations. The peace he now seeks seems to come from the absence of noise, a quiet home where he can finally reflect without chaos. Robyn, on the other hand, is experiencing a complex blend of relief and sadness. Though experts in family psychology have weighed in on the significance of this development, suggesting that what viewers are seeing is a natural progression in long-term relationship dynamics. When individuals experience major relational loss, they often seek stability through tangible change, a new environment, a new routine, or a symbolic gesture of renewal. For Kody and Robyn, the new home embodies that instinctive human desire to start over, to rewrite a narrative that has been dominated by conflict and disappointment. This process, though necessary, is not without its challenges. Public opinion, as always, remains divided. Some fans view Kody and Robyn's move as an overdue step toward emotional healing, seeing it as evidence that they are finally focusing on their own happiness rather than trying to maintain an unmanageable family structure. Others interpret it as escapism, a way for Kody to avoid facing the consequences of his own decisions. Social media discussions reflect this tension vividly. Many viewers express sympathy for Robyn, noting that she appears to carry the emotional weight of maintaining optimism while navigating Kody's lingering bitterness. Others argue that Robyn's earlier position of privilege in the family dynamic makes her current loneliness a form of poetic irony. From a sociological standpoint, the Browns' situation highlights the fragility of unconventional family models when faced with evolving personal needs. Polygamy, as Kody once practiced it, required a delicate balance of time, emotion, and fairness. Elements that proved increasingly difficult to sustain as personalities clashed and expectations diverged. Now, as Kody and Robyn settle into what resembles a traditional marriage, the irony is striking. The man who once fought to normalize plural marriage now appears to have embraced monogamy, albeit reluctantly. This shift invites deeper questions about whether his faith in the principle has changed or if he is simply adapting to circumstance. The move also offers educational insight into human adaptability. Change, while often painful, can lead to growth if approached with self-awareness. Kody's journey illustrates how failure, when confronted honestly, can become a catalyst for transformation. His contradictions and emotional volatility over recent seasons may now be giving way to a quieter, more introspective phase of life. The new home symbolizes that transition, from external conflict to internal reconciliation. Robyn's role in this phase is equally instructive. She demonstrates a kind of emotional resilience that stands out amid the chaos. Despite facing criticism and isolation, she continues to advocate for family unity in whatever form it can exist. Her conversations often reflect a quiet faith that relationships can be rebuilt if rooted in honesty and humility. Her approach provides an important lesson for viewers: that healing after loss requires not only forgiveness but acceptance of change. As the new home becomes a focal point of their lives, its quiet halls seem to echo the absence of voices that once filled them with laughter and tension. There are no longer the family dinners marked by uneasy smiles, no more tense discussions about fairness or faith. Instead, the silence of this new chapter invites reflection. Kody often speaks about the peace he feels waking up each morning without the constant pressure of managing multiple households. Yet even in his words, there is an unmistakable trace of regret. An acknowledgement that something beautiful was lost along the way. For longtime fans, this duality makes the story compelling. The new home is both a victory and a surrender. It represents the peace that comes after chaos, but also the loneliness that follows when dreams fade. In many ways, it mirrors the human journey itself, the need to move forward even when the past remains unfinished. Experts note that this stage of life for Kody and Robyn could also redefine the future of Sister Wives as a show. What began as a documentary about plural marriage has evolved into a study of emotional endurance, personal reinvention, and faith under pressure. Viewers are no longer watching a story about a man balancing multiple wives. They are witnessing the psychological and emotional aftermath of a lifestyle that has collapsed. In this sense, the show's narrative arc has transformed from advocacy to introspection, offering deeper lessons about love, loss, and the human spirit. What stands out most in this new chapter is the tone of quiet reflection that surrounds both Kody and Robyn. Experts in family psychology have weighed in on the significance of this development, suggesting that what viewers are seeing is a natural progression in long-term relationship dynamics. When individuals experience major relational loss, they often seek stability through tangible change, a new environment, a new routine. Gone are the days of loud arguments and defensive monologues. In their place is a quieter, more subdued form of dialogue, one where both individuals seem to be learning how to coexist in a new emotional landscape. There is humility in Kody's tone, perhaps even an emerging sense of accountability, as he acknowledges the mistakes that led to the collapse of his larger family. For Robyn, there is grace, the ability to find gratitude even in imperfection. The moral takeaway from their journey is both simple and profound. Life rarely unfolds according to plan. Even the strongest convictions can falter, and even the most confident people can lose their way. But within that loss lies the potential for growth, if one has the courage to rebuild. Kody and Robyn's fresh start, symbolized by their dream home, is not the end of a story but the beginning of a new one defined by acceptance rather than ambition, peace rather than pride. As the camera pans across the serene landscape surrounding their new home, viewers can almost sense the quiet determination in both of them. It is the determination of two people who, despite public scrutiny and personal heartbreak, still believe in the possibility of redemption. Their journey serves as a reminder that healing often begins in the simplest of places: a quiet morning, a shared meal, a home filled with the hope of starting over. In the end, Sister Wives Season 20 offers more than just another chapter in reality television. It presents a reflection of real human transformation. Kody and Robyn's new beginning is not about grandeur or perfection, but about rediscovering the essence of family in its most personal form. The dream home is a symbol of both what has been lost and what remains possible. And as the story continues to unfold, one thing becomes clear: sometimes the greatest act of faith is not holding on to the past, but having the courage to build a future from the lessons it leaves behind. Thanks for watching. Gone are the days of loud arguments and defensive monologues. In their place is a quieter, more subdued form of dialogue, one where both individuals seem to be learning how to coexist in a new emotional landscape. There is humility in Kody's tone, perhaps even an emerging sense of accountability, as he acknowledges the mistakes that led to the collapse of his larger family. For Robyn, there is grace, the ability to find gratitude even in imperfection. The moral takeaway from their journey is both simple and profound. Life rarely unfolds according to plan. Even the strongest convictions can falter, and even the most confident people can lose their way. But within that loss lies the potential for growth, if one has the courage to rebuild. Kody and Robyn's fresh start, symbolized by their dream home, is not the end of a story but the beginning of a new one defined by acceptance rather than ambition, peace rather than pride. As the camera pans across the serene landscape surrounding their new home, viewers can almost sense the quiet determination in both of them. It is the determination of two people who, despite public scrutiny and personal heartbreak, still believe in the possibility of redemption. Their journey serves as a reminder that healing often begins in the simplest of places: a quiet morning, a shared meal, a home filled with the hope of starting over. In the end, Sister Wives Season 20 offers more than just another chapter in reality television. It presents a reflection of real human transformation. Kody and Robyn's new beginning is not about grandeur or perfection, but about rediscovering the essence of family in its most personal form. The dream home is a symbol of both what has been lost and what remains possible. And as the story continues to unfold, one thing becomes clear: sometimes the greatest act of faith is not holding on to the past, but having the courage to build a future from the lessons it leaves behind. Thanks for watching. Gone are the days of loud arguments and defensive monologues. In their place is a quieter, more subdued form of dialogue, one where both individuals seem to be learning how to coexist in a new emotional landscape. There is humility in Kody's tone, perhaps even an emerging sense of accountability, as he acknowledges the mistakes that led to the collapse of his larger family. For Robyn, there is grace, the ability to find gratitude even in imperfection. The moral takeaway from their journey is both simple and profound. Life rarely unfolds according to plan. Even the strongest convictions can falter, and even the most confident people can lose their way. But within that loss lies the potential for growth, if one has the courage to